The question I wanted. You want to print it out before we start? Oh, I use it like that. Okay. Warm greetings and good afternoon, everyone. I really want to thank those who've been able to log in early. We've had to start early today so that we could suit and fit in the governor's schedule. And also be able to have enough time to go through what we need to go through. So I want to thank all those who were able to log in early. And I do believe that others will join us as we go along. And I do expect that we'll have a very, very interesting schedule, interesting time with His Excellency, the Governor of Kaduna State, Mallam Nasir El-Rufai, OFR. Mallam Nasir graduated with a first-class honors in quantity surveying and founded the firm of El-Rufai and Partners after qualifying as a chartered surveyor. He was advisor to the government of General Abdul Salamin Abubakar and worked in what they call the PIMCO, the Policy Implementation and Monitoring Committee, that designed and delivered the 1998 to 1999 transition program. Interfaced with the World Bank in that capacity, the IMF, and other agencies, and helped draft the legislation that formed and established the BPE, the Bureau for Public Enterprises. In 1999, President Olusegun Obasanjo appointed him to run the privatization program as the Director General of the BPE. And thereafter was appointed the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory from 2003 to 2007. I think thereafter he went away and did studies at the Harvard Business School, or maybe the Kennedy School, and then came back and contested for the governorship of Kaduna State. Okay, in December 2014, he won the primaries, and then on April 11, 2015, he became formally declared the governor-elect of Kaduna State and took office on the 29th of May, 2015, and he has been in office since then, driving government policy and driving not just Kaduna State, but most of the North in a direction of strengthening and rebirth. But my friend Nasir is somehow there's been a lot of dust and controversy and issues surrounding his position, especially on Southern Kaduna, and also the Christians, Muslims, all those sorts of issues. But what we want to find out from him are general policies directing our nation, directing his state, Kaduna State, and then we'll bring up all other issues that we have had. We had a very, very interesting session this time last week, and I want to really, really thank him and his team for agreeing to come back again today so that we could have a deeper dive and resolve or have a deeper session with him where we can actually look at the issues of Nigeria. The African Leadership Group, let me reiterate, is formed largely out of a passion, first of all, for everything African, especially with regards to leadership, a reaction to the largely underdevelopment of Africa and the Africans in diaspora, and trying to ensure there's some form of even growth and even development in Africa. But of course, Nigeria is our Jerusalem, and therefore we have a lot of interest in Nigeria, especially come 2023, the leadership direction, searching for the right kind of leader, searching for the right kind of principles and policies that will make Nigeria great again, looking at the issues that have brought Nigeria to this state, the economy, the government, the politics, the constitution, and now the security or insecurity, and so on and so forth. And what we generally try to do is to bring Nigerians of every type, diverse opinions, diverse backgrounds, diverse ages, old and young, gender, male, female, and political affiliations different or leadership interests different, just to come on this platform to express themselves, to tell us what they think, to tell us what they think the issues are with Nigeria, to tell us what they can contribute to making Nigeria great again, especially in terms of leadership and politics. And usually towards the end of the program, we ask that question: if you were president of Nigeria, what would you do? We may also be doing that at the end of this program today, or we might not, depending on depending on how the program goes. But essentially what we want to get is every kind of shade of opinion to coalesce into some thought and thinking as to how to address the issue of Nigeria. A lot of people think that it's a hopeless case, that it's just not possible, that the political process is too challenging and too entrenched with certain groups of people that have taken control of the political process. Others think that the corruption is too deep and therefore insolvable. Even today, I got different examples of corruption and things like that, even in Nigeria. And a few people think that the level of violence, the level of evil, the level of greed is totally, totally unbearable. And it's almost a lost case. The process has been completely hijacked. But I'm hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful. And I'm thinking that with some thought, with some ability to get some people on the plate, with some ability to energize the system and inform the masses, we can make Nigeria great again. So let me welcome you, Excellency, Governor Nasir El-Rufai, my friend and my brother, to this forum again, and to thank you formally for accepting to come back on.
Thank you, my brother Ituah. It's a pleasure to be back. I am happy to be back.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So
how are my sisters? They're well?
They are well. They are well. They're tolerating me as much as they can.
Excellent. Excellent. You seem to have lost some weight, my brother. Is it the fasting?
It is the fasting and also the problems of Kaduna State.
Honestly.
Issues all over. The problems keep us awake at night. So you don't get to eat. It's part of the burdens of the job.
Yes, I can see so. But you must come to Lagos. We must fatten you up after at some stage.
I will. Lagos has many nice restaurants, so it's a good place to be around.
Okay. I might also come up to Kaduna soon. I'll let you know. I have some thing I'm trying to do in Zaria, some speech or the other, but I'll let you know when it's a bit clearer.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely let you. I will let you know. Okay. So I know last week you wanted us to focus a bit more on Kaduna, but I'm not going to let you go scot-free like that. You are part of the Nigerian process. You're a Nigerian leader. And to some extent, maybe you had answered this question last week, but it's actually Ashley that prompted me and said, you know what kind of a person would you like to see emerge as our president in 2023? That's question number one. And then also, you've been involved so long in Nigeria, the economy, leadership, and so on and so forth. What do you think would be a leapfrog approach? What can turn Nigeria's economy around in the shortest possible time? So these are my opening shots today, and I'll yield the floor to you.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back to talk about the issues that concern our country. Let me start with my usual caveat. I am governor of Kaduna State. I can speak authoritatively for and about Kaduna State because it's a place I know very well. I know Nigeria very well too, but I'm reluctant to speak about Nigeria because I don't want my views to be misinterpreted to reflect the views of either my boss, President Buhari, or our party or anything like that. So I'm quite careful about giving such views without this caveat, and I hope that the audience will bear that in mind. What kind of person would I like to see emerge as president of Nigeria? I would love to see the next president of Nigeria as someone about the age of 50, not older than being in his 60s, maybe oldest mid-60s, and I'll give reasons why. Secondly, I would like to see someone who, in his public and private sector careers, has traversed the country, has worked in many parts of Nigeria, so knows the geography and the demography pretty well. I would love to see a person whose track record in public service and the private sector or civil society is such that one is comfortable with him or her of being inclusive, someone that recognizes Nigeria's diversity, recognizes the potentials of young people and women, and will do his best to, or her best to include them at various levels of governance. I would like to see someone who is not an ethnic or religious champion, but someone who sees Nigeria first and foremost as his constituency, as a secular state, and whose priority is to see to the progress of Nigeria, not to the progress or development of a section of Nigeria or a part of Nigeria to the detriment of the rest of the country. So I would like to see a well-rounded Nigerian who sees the country as his primary constituency and who is committed to the progress of the country. Of course, that person would be very educated, well-educated, well-rounded, very experienced, exposed, and someone that has studied and understood what has made some countries succeeded in the last 3 or 4 decades, while others have not. A person that recognizes Nigeria's potentials, but also understands that difficult decisions must be taken if Nigeria is to realize those potentials. So that's what I'll be looking for in the next president of Nigeria. Now, coming back to Nigeria, yes, I've been around. I've been in the political process in the last 20-something years. And before then, have been involved at various levels of governance as well as private sector. And I think that Nigeria is at a point now where to begin to talk about Nigeria achieving its greatness is maybe jumping the gun. We're at a crisis point. Difficult decisions need to be taken in the areas of security, because we have to maintain, we have to, establish human security first before anything is possible. But difficult decisions need to be taken to enable us secure the country. That has many legs. It requires strengthening the police, arming the military more aggressively, and also taking steps that will bring everyone on board to contribute to the internal security of the country, because the security situation is really of great concern. And unless you can get that improved, nothing is possible. You can't speak about development without security. You can't speak about economic progress without security. So that's I think the priority number one for the leadership of the country, present and future. Secondly, we need to take some very, very difficult decisions in the areas of public policy, particularly economic policy, to put the country back on track. Last year, in the year 2020, for instance, we spent over 800 billion naira subsidizing the price of petrol. Meanwhile, in that year, the budget for federal roads was only 200 billion. The budget for education and healthcare are even lower than that in terms of capital investment. So I think as a country, we need to reprioritize and get our priorities right and decide that certain things that we are doing are no longer tenable. One of them is subsidizing petroleum products prices. Another is subsidizing electricity, so that we claw back the wasted amounts of money that we are throwing away to invest in the areas of human capital development and infrastructure development where we have significant deficits. That is very difficult to do, but it has to be done. So there are many areas of public policy, as I said, that we need to look at and take very difficult decisions. Another area is the size of the public service. The public service at the federal level, and indeed in most states of the federation, is too big, too wasteful, too expensive, and too inefficient. And there is a need for governments at various levels to undertake a major surgical operation to reduce the size of the public service, improve its quality and responsiveness to the issues of the 21st century. Our public service does not attract the best and brightest because of the poor pay. And the reality is, even if we want to make the pay better, we can't because of the numbers. At the federal level, for instance, there are about 700 parastatals, 700 government agencies. Many of them duplicate functions. Some are not really adding any value. Some are better handled at state or even local government level, that are costing the Nigerian treasury billions and billions of naira without adding very little value. Now, to merge institutions, to abolish moribund institutions, to completely eliminate some of this is very difficult. Steve Oronsa, a former head of service, headed a committee under President Jonathan and produced a report that gave some guidance as to how this should be done and how it should be prioritized. But since the report was submitted, I think in 2011 or 2012, it has been there lying. It's 10 years old today. It has not been implemented. Implementing it is one first step. And we must also, as a nation, have some consensus around saying no more new agencies, no more new universities, no more new polytechnics, no more new colleges of federal colleges of education. Let us expand the ones that we have. Let us make them work better rather than creating new ones. You know, every day you hear the National Assembly legislating the establishment of one federal university or federal polytechnic or federal college of education or another at a time when the federal government cannot even pay the salaries of its personnel without borrowing. The third area of public policy that we need to take difficult decisions in the areas of fiscal policy. Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio is just 6%. It's the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa. It's one of the lowest in the world. The average expected for a country like Nigeria is something like 21%. So we're doing just less than one third of what we should be doing. So we need to do something about tax collection, about expanding the tax net and ensuring that people pay taxes. It is a travesty to observe that in Nigeria, as at 2018, I believe, less than 30 people pay more than 20 million naira in personal income tax. And most of those 30 people live in Lagos and Ogun State. It clearly shows that there is something wrong. There is something wrong with our tax system, and we need to undertake a major surgical operation of our fiscal policy. Maybe we need to move away from personal income taxation, since it has not worked, and move more towards consumption taxation. Maybe we should raise the value-added tax to double digits and abolish personal income tax, so that those that spend more will pay more tax, and so on and so forth. But we really need to do something about fiscal policy, because today, nearly about 90% of federal government revenues go towards debt service. The government every month issues bonds to pay salaries, then issue more bonds for overheads, and then borrows from China and other countries for all its capital investment needs. This is not sustainable. Something has to be done, and difficult decisions need to be taken. Our monetary policy is broken. Interest rates are too high. The CBN is intervening in every area, making it difficult for some agencies to work. The Bank of Agriculture is dead because CBN has NIRSAL competing with it. The Bank of Industry cannot lend as robustly as it wants, because the CBN is engaged in virtually every industrial area with its own interventions. So we need to look holistically at all these issues and take some very difficult decisions around interest rates, around exchange rates, and many other aspects of monetary and fiscal policy. So there is a lot to do. And frankly, we are at a point as a country that unless we take these decisions urgently, very difficult decisions, quite unpopular, but happily we have a president who is on his second term in office, so he's not running another election. So he's in a position to take these difficult decisions. And these difficult decisions must be taken if we are to put the country right back on track of progress. These are many of the issues I've talked about. Problems that have been in Nigeria for a long time. They have built up over time. There has been reluctance to face these problems and deal with them. But I believe that sooner or later, the government of the day must face some of these problems. Many people complain about the cost of governance, not only in the executive branch, but also in the legislative branch. Yes, the National Assembly is horrendously expensive. Up until 2007, when I was in the cabinet, the budget of the National Assembly was less than 40 billion naira. In 2007, Umar Yar'Adua became president, and the budget of the National Assembly moved from about 30 billion to 150 billion. Since then, it has never gone down below 120 billion. How the budget moved from 30, 40 to 150 is something that we should ask those that allowed that to happen. I still believe that the budget of the National Assembly can be significantly brought down. I believe that we can do something about reducing the cost of governance of the National Assembly. And indeed, all round, we need to look around not only at the national level, but even at the state level. Most states today are distressed. Most states are unable to pay salaries from their federation account allocations and IGR. Some states have already started building up arrears. These arrears were inherited by the Buhari administration in 2015. And many states, I think 27 out of 36 states had to be bailed out in 2015 by the Buhari administration to clear salary arrears, pension arrears, and so on. Now these arrears are building up again. Most states cannot pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Only four state governments have implemented the 30,000 minimum wage, and one of them, Kano, has reversed it because they can no longer afford it. So there are serious problems around the cost of governance, around resources being available for investing into the future. We are not addressing our infrastructure deficit, whether it is physical infrastructure like roads, rail, and so on, but even soft infrastructure like health and healthcare and education and broadband, which is a conditioned precedent for being competitive in the 21st century. We are lagging behind in those, and we need to wake up and get those done. So these are some of the thoughts that come to mind about what we need to do as a country. It is a collective and collaborative effort. As I said, I'm just a state governor. I try to do these things that I preach in my state. We are downsizing the public service to a level that we can afford. We are paying the minimum wage, and we're looking at even increasing salaries if the numbers are such that we can afford to do more. We are bringing in more and more young people into the government because we believe that young people are the future of this country. So to round up, I had said I would like to see a younger person, 50s preferably, at the worst 60s, mid-60s tops, to be the next president, because I believe that being the president of Nigeria requires a lot of energy and ability to withstand physical stress. And I think it is just easier for a younger person to bear that than a much older person. I know how many hours I can put in to work when I was Minister of FCT, because I was in my 40s when I was minister. And I know the limits to what I can do now that I'm in my 50s when I became governor, and now above 60. So having the advantage of age, helps. Of course, experience also matters. Wisdom matters. Some of the things I did when I was Minister of FCT, I probably would do differently now that I'm older and a little wiser. So yes, wisdom helps a lot. Wisdom makes up for the physical weakness of age. But there is a limit to how much, one can stand once you are above the age of 65. And my experience, personal experience, has persuaded me that the younger, the better, if you can get the person with the education, experience, and the sense of inclusion that top-level leadership in Nigeria requires. So let me stop here. I think it's better if I have more pointed questions than these very broad and general questions.
Okay, I'll allow you to stop there, but I'm going to be opening the floor very quickly for people on the floor who want to ask different kinds of questions today. But there are 2 or 3 issues based on what you said that I'd like you to a bit deeper dive at. Number one is you've described a very beautiful picture of who should go into leadership in Nigeria. And honestly, I agree with you. I have said this many times myself. People of vision, people of passion, people of direction, and of course, somebody that has a lot of energy to do this. Do such people exist? And do you think the present political process as it is can throw up such a person? I think one of the challenges of our political process today is there's too few people in Nigeria who actually think Nigerian. Most of our people are either religious or ethnic or self-inclined. Do such people exist? And is it possible for this political process to throw it up? And then the second is similar to the first. All these things that we have recommended to do, the tough decisions especially, and like you said, our president has only a couple of years to go, and it will be fantastic for him to take some of these tough decisions. Why, in your opinion, do you think those decisions aren't being taken right now, and people are not thinking of leaving a legacy?
Well, first, I believe that there are many such people. The kind of person you describe, there are many such people in Nigeria. There are many such people in the political process. And it is possible for them to emerge. Will they emerge easily? No. The political process does not like people like that. The political process, the political culture we have is very clientelist in orientation, and has a dislike for intellectuals, for policy wonks, and for deep thinkers. But it is not impossible for such a person to emerge. It is difficult, as I said, largely because the best and brightest in Nigeria have chosen to take a leave of absence from politics and public service. This is a major, major problem. I have complained about this from time immemorial. I have called on young people to participate in the political process as the only solution. I have called on the self-made people, the older generation that are comfortable, that don't need anything by way of monetary compensation, to go into politics and public service, where you can make a difference, you can add value, and you can, tell truth to power. Unfortunately, most of the people we have in the political process do not fit that description. They are mostly people that need the political system even to earn a living. So they are not likely to, tell the truth to power. They are likely to just fit into the system and grab what they can. Most of the countries that I have studied that have made progress in the last 30 to 50 years, that are mostly countries in South Asia, a handful in Africa, did so because they attracted their best brains into public service. And we used to have that in the First Republic, but we lost that over time, and now we are paying the price. So my appeal to everyone on this platform is, get involved in the political process. That is the only way we can have the critical mass of decent people, good people, that will see value in supporting the kind of person that Pastor Ituah has described, a person of vision, a person that is committed to the country, a person willing to take risks and, make bold decisions in the interest of Nigeria. Only people that, have little to lose by leaving the government can play that kind of role. So that's all I would say about that. Now, regarding policies, as I said, these policies or these challenges have always been with Nigeria to varying degrees. And because of the political culture, because of the need for populism or concern about the next election, everyone has decided to dodge them one after the other. I believe that President Buhari has a unique opportunity, being a second termer with very little to lose. I think he has a unique opportunity to fix these problems once and for all. I think the petroleum subsidy problem is something that we've lived with for 40 years. It is time to end it. And I think President Buhari can and will end it. The electricity problem is something that we've lived with for 50 years. I think with the privatization of the electricity supply industry and some of the improvements in governance, I think we can make the electricity industry liquid by ensuring that tariffs are cost reflective, thus attracting investment to the sector. And over time, just as we have seen with telecoms, competition will kick in and the society will be the biggest beneficiary. But initially, we will pay the price. Those that are old enough to remember will remember that when we first bought our MTN SIM cards, we paid 10,000 naira for the SIM cards. Many people forget that. Today, MTN and all the telcos give away SIM cards for next to nothing. But the first SIM cards we bought were 10,000 naira each. But you see, when you deregulate properly and you have a strong regulator and you ensure there is competition in the sector, in the end, society benefits, even if the society is ripped off in the beginning, in the initial period. So that's what's likely to happen in the electricity supply industry. But we need to get the tariffs up. We need to get them to be above the cost of producing electricity, and then the investments will pour in, and then competition will kick in, and then we will have stable electricity at the right price. Today, since privatization in 2013 of the electricity supply industry, we have spent more than 1.8 trillion subsidizing electricity because of mistakes that we have made. Electricity Regulatory Commission raising tariffs and reducing them because of elections. The NAC under Sam Amadi reduced tariffs a few weeks to the elections because they thought that would help Jonathan win. Of course, it didn't. We kicked them out anyway. So, it is time for us to face some of these problems that have been lingering for a while and just deal with them. And as I said, I think President Buhari has a unique opportunity to deal with them, and I believe he will deal with them. There are ongoing discussions on all these issues, and I believe that it's a matter of time to be done. But Pastor Ituah asked a very critical question. If these problems are so clear, so apparently clear to everyone in the leadership, why has everyone shied away from dealing with them? There are two parts to the answer. First, sometimes it is a matter of political will. The political leadership must decide that I'm willing to take these risks. I know that they will be unpopular, but over time, people will realize the value of this decision, and maybe posterity will judge me better. I had to take some of those decisions when I was Minister of FCT, and I do not regret any of the ones I have taken. I'm taking similar decisions as Governor of Kaduna State. They are not popular today, but one day, perhaps people will see the value in taking this decision. So I believe that political will is one issue. And it is not always that you have this political will in abundance at the top levels of leadership. But the second, after political will, you also have execution capacity. The public service, once the political masters take a decision, you rely on the public service to implement. Sadly, the capacity of our public service is very weak, very poor. Sometimes even good decisions that need to be implemented get lost in translation because of the weakness of the public service. Again, back to the same problem. It is a people's problem. The quality of people in the public service is far from what is desirable. If you look at Singapore, you look at the UK, you find that it is graduates of Oxbridge, LSE that go into the public service. Singapore's cabinet consists of graduates of Kennedy School of Government and Oxford and Cambridge and so on. But what do we have in our public service? Those that cannot get a job in the banking sector, telcos, oil companies, and so on. Those are the people that go into public service. So, when you have a weak or poor quality public service, the capacity of the public service to execute policies, even when there is political will, is limited. It is those around the president and those around a governor that to a large extent determine whether public policies get executed or not, even when the governor or the president decides. And that is why the quality of the political advisors, the team around the president or the governor, as well as the core public service is so important. So if you look into many of these problems, you will situate why these policies have not been implemented, even though they are so crystal clear to everyone, either to political will or to implementation capacity, execution capacity of the public service.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you, Nasir. That's very clear. And it's a real big challenge. And I think there's a bit of, I don't want to call it desperation, but a real need now to really try and search for this leadership that we have both described and see how we can get it. So I'm going to be taking you up that you and I might need to sit together and begin a real search for this leadership while we try to convince and persuade the government in power to try and do the right thing. Although, like you rightly said, like you mentioned, that people who are bold enough to speak truth to power, but you tend to find that power doesn't like truth being spoken to it. And before you know it, you are labeled anti-government, secessionist, and all manners of things like that. But I think we also need to have governments that are willing to listen to the truth and not think that every comment or every conversation is an attack on government or a desire to bring some government down or the other. It's a big challenge in Nigeria today, and most people just tend to keep quiet after a while because it hurts them, it affects their business, and sometimes lives are threatened. And I know you know that because you've been through it yourself at some stage or the other. But we still will speak, and hopefully people will hear and things will change. My brother Doye Udowe wants to ask a question. I will get him to ask his question. And you may comment on what I've said while you're answering those questions also. But I'm taking you up that you and I must work on searching for some kind of good leadership for Nigeria. I don't think we have much time anymore. We can ramp up and be like Singapore and Dubai very quickly. And also Chikaudi Okoro also has a question. Chikaudi Okoro, Sonny Enebi, and Abiodun Faumi. I'll take those 4 questions, one after the other, very quick, very short, straight to the point, and then I'll have His Excellency respond to those questions, and then we take another set. So let's start with Doye, and then Chikaudi, Sonny, and then Abiodun. Thank you very much. Doye, please, quickly, 1 minute.
Yes, good afternoon, Ituah, and good afternoon, Mallam Nasir. Thanks for coming, not just once, but twice. It shows your willingness to engage with us, if nothing else. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Mallam Nasir, I mean, you were the future ones. And you and a number of your colleagues, the kind of people we were waiting for. You came into office, in 2015 on promised change with reservoirs of goodwill from the people. But like a Shakespearean tragedy, you're hoist on your own petard. I mean, we've been stuck. Nigeria has been stuck permanently now in the 4th stage of grief, depression, reflection, loneliness almost. I think the whilst I commend you, give you an A+ for rehearsing the issues that Nigeria faces. When it comes to some of the solutions, and I'm talking about you as one of the political elite. I know you've done things in Kaduna, but Kaduna is not an island. It's within the greater Nigeria. So, you're one of those who trashed the Jonathan regime for the right reasons. But I think to have done a worse job in almost every sector of the Buhari regime, of which you're part of, to have done the worst job in almost every sector, and it's so unsafe, takes a special skill and incompetence. I don't think you and a number of the elites have faced the truth about the fact that you foisted on us a barely sentient, if not a cadaver president, for who doesn't seem to know where he is or what he's doing. So he's been in office for 6 years, and you're talking about going to be able to do something in the next 2 years because he doesn't have to win re-election. If for 6 years nothing has happened and it is worse than every indices, Nigeria is worse than it's ever been, why should we believe you guys? Because I think it's closing time for you guys. And don't ask us for whom the bell tolls, because I think the bell tolls for all of you. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Doye. Let's go quickly to Chikaudi. Chikaudi, please don't repeat the previous question. I'm sure you'll have a fresh question to ask.
Yes, I do. Pastor Ituah, good evening. You might not remember me, but I don't know if you remember what church you came to in Maryland and says, I can still hear his voice. I was a member of his congregation.
Oh, I can still hear his voice. Yes, that's my good friend, Paul.
Yes.
Paul's funeral. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
My question is this, Mallam Rufai. Last week, you spoke about the banditry issues and why the Fulanis come back to a village. And Mr. Ibrahim had asked a question that I never really heard the answer to. You said that, when he asked you this question, he says, if the Fulanis never forget, there are other people in this part of Nigeria that conveniently, that during the Biafran War or the Civil War, that lost family members. What if they all rose up and fought against the system because they lost? I too lost cousins. If they fight about that, so we shouldn't go about excusing that part of that behavior because you lost someone. Everybody has a memory. And secondly, my second question is, you had mentioned something that actually does bother me a lot. It's the NAS, the National Assembly salary and all that. You said it has to be reduced. As a citizen of Nigeria, you're not in the National Assembly. When it comes to the National Assembly, you are a citizen just as we are. How would you go about, how would you suggest, because the last gentleman said you are in power, how would you suggest us going about decreasing the waste? Because the finance minister said she's reducing salaries. And when they say that it is the masses who are already suffering, what are we going to do right now, not in 2023, right now, about NAS and their huge waste in the National Assembly? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you very much, Ikodi. Are you still in the US? Are you back
Yes.
in Nigeria?
No, sir. I am still in Maryland.
Okay. All right. God
Okay.
bless you.
Bless
Very
you too.
good. Sonny Enebi, 1 minute, 30 seconds, please, your question. We want to take as many as we can.
All right, thank you very much. I will not repeat what others have said. First, let me start by congratulating you, His Excellency, for the release of the students that were captured in forestry in Kaduna State. We are glad that they have been released finally, but we are still praying for the release of the students of the Greenfield University that are still in captivity. Now, you were very clear in 2014 when the Chibok girls were captured. You said nothing should be taken out of the table. Jonathan must do everything to bring these girls back. If it was Jonathan's daughters, he will do something. So for you, you are open to all options, including negotiations, and all it will take to bring these children back. Perfect. Good point. But fast track 5 years down the line, you have made a VAT traps. Now, first question is, why the change of mind? Two, if you take the stand that you have taken, that you're not going to negotiate with these people, it's perfect and it's a good decision. But what are you doing? Because nations that have said they will not negotiate with terrorists or kidnappers, they go after them. Even if it takes 10 years, they hunt them down and they bring them to justice. If you don't negotiate with them, you are not controlling the security system or the sector. What then will you do to ensure these forests are in Kaduna State? They are not even outside the state. How can people be held in Kaduna State for 2 months and Your Excellency, the security system cannot do something about it? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, Sonny, thank you very much for those questions, 2 of them. Let's just take one more very quickly. Abiodun what? Please, very quickly, straight to the point, please. Don't repeat any of the other questions, please.
Thank you very much. I won't repeat any of the questions. I have 2 questions for His Excellency. The first one is, if he gets to sit with our president tonight, what 3 important things will he tell him or advise him on, given the current state of the country? I can describe myself and association with the country, but I think just as a citizen, what will he tell him? That's my first question. The second question, which I've actually written, is that in his presentation, he keeps talking about we. can he just assign some of these responsibilities to an individual? Mr. Abiodun Fawumi should do this in his own domain of responsibility. Because if he can do that, and we all can start doing that, it will actually change the level of responsibility and even discourse in our country. I'll give an example. One of the finance ministers, federal finance ministers, asked Biodun Fawumi to go to his local government chairman and ask him what he has been doing with the allocations. These are direct responsibilities, and it cuts through that that we can use as a shade or a veil to cover many sins. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, Biodun. Thank you. I suspect you are not located in Nigeria from the way you look and sound. Well, thank you for those questions. Excellency.
I have a question myself, Ituah.
Uncle Ephraim, can you wait until the next round?
All right, okay.
I'll wait for the next round too.
Yes, please wait for the next round. Okay, there will be a next round. All right. So, Excellency, can I?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Pastor Ituah. Yes, I've had all the questions. I will try to take them one by one. Doe said, Nigeria is worse by looking at every index. I don't agree with you. We can debate that, but I don't want to take that time. I look at these numbers, I look at these statistics, and I can tell you that Nigeria has got much better in many areas. Okay. Now, as I said in our first interaction last week, we are not where we should be. I think we should have done much more. We should have achieved much more. But it is unfair to say that Nigeria is worse in every possible way. I don't want to play the broken record of people in the Federal Ministry of Information that keep referring to the rot we inherited from the Jonathan administration, some of which nobody understood until much later. As far as I'm concerned, if you're in a leadership position, you should stop complaining and fix problems, okay? This is what I do in my state. This is what I do within my area of governance. But it is not correct to say that, Nigeria is worse in every way. And why should you believe us? You don't have to. The problem you have, Mr. Doe, is that for the next 2 years, you don't have any alternative to us. So instead of whining or complaining, why don't we identify the problems and all collaborate to solve them, okay? There are issues in Nigeria. I believe that everyone has a role. That's why I keep using the we. It is not the royal we. It is because I believe that solving problems requires collaboration, and we must collaborate. But before we can solve problems or even collaborate, we must understand the problems. There is a large measure of misunderstanding about issues by people that have never been in government. They don't understand how this animal called government works. And frankly, the reason why many people in government have no patience for outside commentators is because most of the time the commentaries are completely misplaced. They don't get the point. They don't, they don't try to ask questions to understand. They just are critics. And we have seen many of those critics, you give them the opportunity to actually govern, they are much worse. Okay. Now, there are problems in Nigeria. There are many that ought to have been addressed in the last 6 years that have not been. There are some that have been addressed. But what I'm saying, I was asked a very specific question. What areas do we think we need to do to put the country back on track? And I gave those areas, and I did so quite honestly and frankly. I'm not being partisan here. I don't care what people think. I think that we must lay out what I think the problems are today. And these are my thoughts. Okay, maybe the people in Abuja do not see it that way. Maybe they do not see the concern or the danger that I see. Okay, I am just, as I said, a state governor. Yes, I am part of the ruling elite. I have unlimited access to the president, and I talk to him about this all the time when I meet him. But you must understand my constraints as a person, and even the president's constraints, because I have told you that usually there are two legs to this, to solving this problem. There is political will, okay, and then there is the execution capacity of the public service. All right, you have to take these two into account. There are times when the governor will want something done, and the public service is unable or unwilling to do it, and you see very slow execution. Now, I fire people, so I get higher execution rates. President Buhari is a nice guy. He doesn't fire people, so he has the slower execution rates. Okay, but I believe that in 2 years, you can do a lot. I'm going to do a whole lot in my state within the next 2 years. Just watch out and see. I will do a whole lot. There are many things that I'm going to do in the last 2 years. I have done a lot in the last 6 years. The federal government has also done a lot in the last 6 years, even whether you see it or you don't, okay? But they have. Chika referred to what I said about Fulanis never forget, and said that, you know, what about the Biafran War? I also lost relations in the Biafran War, but that's war. Maybe it's important to contextualize what I mean, okay? If the Fulani man dies in war, is different. If a Fulani man is arrested by the authorities and convicted, it's not an issue. What the Fulani never forgets is when he is innocently targeted and killed and the authorities do nothing. He will never forget, and he will come back for revenge. This is it. So it's important to understand the context, even the context of what I tweeted, which had to do with an issue in Plateau State in 2012. I hope you get the context. So it is not a matter of, oh, Fulanis never forget. Of course, everybody that goes through pain and sorrow either forgets or doesn't forget. But when you when it is extrajudicial, when it is extra official, the attitude is completely different. This is the context in which the Fulani never forgets. It's not in every context. As I said, I lost relations during the war. It doesn't mean I still hold a grudge. We've moved past that. We've moved past that. And you talked about reducing National Assembly ways. Now, let me correct you. You said the finance minister said the federal government is reducing salary. No, that's not what the finance minister said. The finance minister said the federal government is harmonizing salaries. Now, until we wait and see what that means, I don't think it is right for the media or indeed public commentators to conclude that it is reducing salary. I believe that it is not the salary of the National Assembly that needs reducing. The salary of the National Assembly is not much. No senator takes home more than 800,000 a month. The problem with the National Assembly budget is in their overheads, in which they get 13 million or something every month for running their offices and their constituency offices and their office in Abuja and their aides. That's where the money goes to. It's not their salary. Their salary has been determined by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. They can't do anything about that. And it's, you know, as I said, it's 800,000 or below. Okay, and if you multiply that by 100 or 400 people, it amounts to little or nothing. Where they take tons of money is in those allowances. They get these monthly allowances for their aides, for their offices, for their constituency offices, which they do not really have to account for. That's where the waste is. And that we can interrogate and we can reduce. We can interrogate that and reduce it. I have no doubt in my mind, because I said under President Obasanjo, the National Assembly budget was never more than 40 billion naira. It only jumped to 150 billion under Ituah because of the pact he had with the National Assembly. You know, I will give you what you want, you let me do what I want. That's the beginning of the escalation in the budget of the National Assembly. It has come down a little bit now to 120 billion, but I still feel it's 3 times what it should be, because we can still go back to those days of Obasanjo's budget. Sonny asked me about what I said regarding the Chibok girls and why did I change my position. I think, Sonny, you are not, you did not listen very carefully to what I said. Okay, in 2014, when the Chibok girls were abducted, first, they were abducted by Boko Haram, which was driven by an ideology rather than criminality. Okay, it was the first time they abducted anyone, and they did not ask for ransom. They abducted the girls because they wanted to discourage girls going to school in the Northeast. That was their motive. Okay. Secondly, for 3 weeks after the abduction, the Jonathan administration refused to even recognize that the abductions took place. Thirdly, at the point that I spoke, no one was sure what Boko Haram wanted to release the Chibok girls. They did not send a ransom demand. They were not looking for money. All right? They were not communicating in any way to show that it was not impossible to return the girls. But the Jonathan administration refused to even recognize that the abduction had taken place for 3 weeks. That was the context in which I spoke. I believe that it was important to speak to Boko Haram to know what they really wanted, apart from scaring girls from going to school. I believed then that talking to them and discussing with them would lead to the release of the girls, which the Jonathan administration was not doing at the time I spoke. Now, fast forward to 2021. What are we dealing with? We are not dealing with Boko Haram. We are not dealing with any group driven by some ideology. We are dealing with people that have decided to sell cattle and buy AK-47 and kidnap people for ransom. These are criminals. They are completely different from an insurgent group with some modicum of ideology like Boko Haram that was not doing this for money. These guys are doing this for money. So we are looking at 2 different groups, 2 different times. And I have looked at states like Zamfara and Katsina that had done deals with these bandits. They had given them money. They had taken some weapons from them in the name of amnesty, and they have still gone back. What is happening in Zamfara state and Katsina state is much worse than whatever has ever happened in Kaduna state. I spoke to the governor of Niger state just a few moments ago, and he told me that 40 people were kidnapped in Agaye yesterday. It will not make the news because it is not Kaduna. But what is happening in Niger state, in Zamfara state, in Katsina state, where entire villages are being wiped out, hundreds of people killed that never make the headlines because it is Fulanis killing Hausa people. But if it is in Kaduna, because we have Christians, we have Muslims, we have other tribes, that's what becomes headlines. That's the difference. We have taken a position as a government looking at the experience in Zamfara and Katsina and other states that have done deal with the bandits, that have negotiated with them, that have given them money, that things are much worse. And we are not going to negotiate with the bandits. We are not going to talk to the bandits. We are not going to pay them a penny. That's our position. And if you do not understand the difference between the Boko Haram Chibok girls abduction of 2014 and what is happening now, then I would say tough. But this is the difference. This is why we took the position we took. And for your information, these forests are not just in Kaduna. When the forestry students were kidnapped, they trekked for 7 hours. They were out of Kaduna State. They were in Niger State. So the forests are not in Kaduna. These forests are everywhere, and you don't know for sure where the forests are. 2 days after the abduction of the Afaka young people, I was assured by the Air Force and the Army that they know where these kidnappers are with these students, and they have encircled them. And you've asked me, what am I going to do? We are going to attack them. We'll lose a few students, but we'll kill all the bandits and we'll recover some of the students. That was our plan. That was the plan of the Air Force. That was the plan of the Army. The Air Force will attack them from the air, and the Army will have a blocking force on the ground, and they will attack them. That was the plan. But they slipped through the cordon of the Army. That's why they were not attacked. So we're not just saying we'll not negotiate with bandits, we're doing nothing. We try to trace them, track them, and engage them using military force. We know it's risky. We know in the process we may lose some of the abductees, but it's a price we have to pay. This is war. There will always be collateral damage in war, and we'd rather do that than pay money, because paying money has not solved the problem anywhere in the world, anywhere in Nigeria. Abiodun asked,
where is the homework? What has happened?
Sorry, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have been switched off by the electricity company. Until the generator comes back on, I will use my assistant's device, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. So Abiodun asked me to tell him 3 things I will tell President Buhari if I see him tonight. My biggest concern is security in Kaduna State. And quite frankly, one of the groups that have been kidnapped, we have identified the location, we know where they are for the past 5 days. And those that are supposed to strike have not struck. So that's the first issue I'll raise with President Buhari if I see him tonight. The second issue, again, has to do with regional security, because the 8 governors of what we call the Northwest Frontline States have met the president and presented him a security strategy covering our region. And I would ask him what is the status of implementation, and ask him when are we going to meet next to review the implementation of that program. Because even as we speak, as I said yesterday, 40 people were kidnapped in Agaye in Niger State. We don't have any major kidnap here in Kaduna, but this is happening all over. It is a matter of urgent national importance that has to be addressed. The third issue I would raise if I'm to see General Buhari, President Buhari today, is when will the petroleum subsidy go? We are spending 7 billion naira every day subsidizing petrol, that most of which goes to neighboring countries. The benefit doesn't even accrue to Nigerians. It is time for this to go. So these are the 3 issues I will raise with President Buhari. I'm sorry, there are issues that are important to me and Kaduna State. That's why I will raise them. But you didn't give me any guidance as to what you want me to raise with the president. Now, you said I should stop using we and assign. The question I was asked was a very...
What Nigeria needs to be on time. What I did is to give a plethora of public policy prescriptions about what to do and why to do. I use we because I believe that governance is collaborative, everyone has a role. And we need to all work together to achieve our national objectives.
Okay.
Take the next set of questions.
Okay, thank you. I will, Governor Autumn, is that video ready? Yes. Went through some crisis recently, and you had also made some comments before that. I'll play those two videos very quickly.
My brother, that's Ituah.
Yeah. Okay, Excellency, are you here with me? Yeah. So this is Governor Autumn. I think
Hello?
Are you there?
Yes, okay. I'm here, but I
okay.
have not heard you for a while. Yeah, I'm here.
We're trying to show a video of Governor Autumn the other day. I don't know if you saw this.
No, I haven't.
Can you show it properly?
Very good. It's simple.
For several years, we have been calling on federal government to take proactive steps to address this matter they have produced. You can imagine, this is about the IDD. The adjoining villages here will be recamped, and the adjoining villages are occupied by IDPs. So what does you want them to do? You send these people away from their villages. They came here to take refuge. And today, they are being killed in this town. Over 70 people have been killed in the last 2 weeks. And this is, they no longer come with their country. They come because they are looking for livestock that to kill. There are constant messages.
Yeah, he said, what kind of a country are we in? The question, my brother, is this. It's almost as though at the top, we seem almost powerless to deal with these security issues. We've been at it for so long. From your own perspective, are we that powerless? Are we that indecisive? What really is the problem that this thing seems to be perpetuating itself all over the place? Almost every part of Nigeria, every something or the other is happening. What really is the reason why this is so, from your own perspective? Have we lost him?
Yeah. Hello. I said I did not quite get what Governor Autumn was saying, but I know him. He's not someone that I take very seriously, frankly. He has other issues of governance that he's using the federal government as a punching bag to distract attention from his failures. Go and find out how many months' salaries are being owed by teachers and public servants in Benue State. Then you can understand a lot of what Autumn is doing. But to come to your question, there is a problem, a fundamental problem, my brother. around the capacity of the armed forces and the police. We have a serious national problem. It is not, I will not say we're totally helpless, but we are in a situation in which the armed forces and the police have lost significant confidence in themselves and the institutions. And we need to invest aggressively to restore that confidence. And part of the investment we need is to ensure that they have the latest and advanced weapons so that they can face these criminals. And we also scale up their numbers so that they will have the numerical strength to face these insurgents, because we are dealing with two insurgencies in the north. We have the Boko Haram insurgency that is still around. It's been significantly degraded, but they still have capacity to, walk into a town in Yobe State and literally take it over for a few days. And then we have this emerging insurgency in the northwest, which covers several states in the northwest. Now, factor in what is happening in the east, the Eastern Security Network, IPOB, and the burning down of police stations, opening of prisons. You can see that the security architecture is overstretched. And there is some loss of confidence among the security apparatus that we have to work on. And you can politicize it to your detriment. You can say whatever you want, but the country is facing a serious national crisis, which we all must come together to do something about. People who have been shouting about the service chiefs. Okay, we have new service chiefs now. They are settling down, but still the problems of whether they have armaments, whether they have enough ammunition, whether they have enough technology to be able to face these bandits, these insurgents, is a question that requires an honest national response. Are we ready for the answer that we'll get? Are we ready for the amounts of money we need to spend to get that back on track? And if we have all these problems, should we really be spending ₦1 trillion on petroleum subsidy when our defense infrastructure is so weakened and can do with ₦1 trillion? Should we be subsidizing electricity to the tune of 1.6 trillion over 3 years when we have such needs in our national defense architecture and national security network? These are the honest questions that we have to ask ourselves and work together to resolve them. We can point fingers as much as we want, but these guys, these criminals, these insurgents are not engaged in a debate. They are moving and they are making our lives miserable every single day. And unless we unite and evolve a collective national response, things can only get worse.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. I'm going to open the floor for the next set of questions. But one of mine, which you probably will respond to, is how do we get Nigerians to unite? Picking up what you just said, how do we get Nigerians to truly unite? Because we've not been able to do so. But I'm going to ask Anthony Ugebo, Chief Ephraim Falugi, Bola Oshiboju Adetula, Toib Awe, and Halilu, in that sequence, to please ask their questions. Anthony Ugebo first, Ephraim Falugi second, Bola Oshiboju Adetula third, Halilu fourth, and then Toib Awe, please, in that order. Very quickly, 30 seconds each, so that we can take many more questions.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. So, with respect to the response from Governor Rufai, it's really scary to hear you say that you do not take the governor of Benue State autonomy seriously, given what we know is happening in Benue State. Secondly, before I go to the question real quick, regarding the problems in Nigeria, the summary I see is this: the abandonment of children in the north, which has been going on for decades, is resulting in a volume of people who have no skills. And over time, what we have is this massive industrial scale production of kids where they have now found themselves occupied. It's an industry right now. And it's coming to the South. And then the South is reacting to say, we don't want to be part of this. And then they call it secession, they call it IPOP, they call it whatever they want to call it, but it's a reaction. And I'm sure we're all smart enough to know the truth, but there's this overt and covert display of pretense that it's as if we are all terrorists. No, the South and other people, even in the North, who are also victims, they are reacting to this industrial scale production. So would you please, how would you advise your others in your zone primarily to say what we're doing right now is a reaction, whether it's the Southwest with Afeni Ferry, with Ituah Nation and all that? Nobody wants to break Nigeria. But the reaction is that enough is enough. If you take away the guns from the bandits, the AK-47, the RPG, they're as ordinary as everybody else. So is it until everybody else gets their guns to equalize this madness, really? Is it until to get to that point? So please, what would you do to tell those who pretend they don't know what's going on that this is a reaction? Looking forward to what Danjuma said, that if we don't defend ourselves, since 2018, he advised everybody, if you don't defend yourselves, you're all going to be killed one by one. I rather believe Tiwa Danjuma than believe Buhari, which is like neither here nor there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we go very quickly to Chief Ephraim Falugi, please?
Thank you, Pastor Ituah. Governor El-Rufai, you've touched on some national issues, which to me, you say the right things, but at this stage, but I just have only 3 questions to ask you, and we need some response. One is that in all this discussion, and in all your opening remarks, you never said one thing about going into the Constitution, because that is the root cause of all our problem. The military Constitution. I would have expected you, as somebody who has been in government, to know that the root cause of our problem is the Constitution that is tilted towards a certain part of the country. Having said that, I need an answer to that. Then, my second question is this. During the formations of political parties in 1999, the Constitution did consider zoning principle. That is, the zoning principle was for the Northeast, North Central, Southwest, South-South, have the opportunity to govern. What about the Igbos, the Southeast? Why are they not being considered for the presidency? By the way, I'm from Bayelsa, so I'm not Southeast. But the fact remains that all these areas I've mentioned have had a taste of the presidency. Why are they being deprived? Then my last question is this. Would you consider, in your view, the National Assembly to work as part-time instead of full-time to reduce the cost of running the National Assembly? These are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you. Halilu, Bola Oshiboju Adetula, please.
Thank you very much, Pastor Ituah. By the way, greetings from Princess Adeniyi.
Okay, I won't talk.
Now, Mallam Rufai, I've been following you for a long time. Since the days you went to Harvard to give a talk to some young Nigerian lawyers, Nigerians there. That was when I first of all heard about you through my daughter Busola and Shetu, who you later employed in Abuja. Now that you are governor of Kaduna State, my own question is different from what you have been discussing. There are so many young ones on the streets of Kaduna and it's also in Kano. They call them the Almajiris. Most of them abuse drugs, but that's my own area of professionalism. What effort are you and your colleagues making at getting these young ones, both boys and girls, off the street, giving them some skills, rehabilitating them? Because these are the people that these criminals recruit, and it's very, very frustrating. So that is my own question for you, Mallam Rufai, and I know how passionate you are because I know a lot about you that you don't even know. I've been following you for over almost 30 years. So please, what are you doing?
Under scrutiny, my brother.
Thank you.
30 years of knowledge. Okay, thank you very much, my sister. God bless you. Thank you. Can I take on the next person, Halilu? Halilu, very quickly.
All right, thank you very much for granting me this opportunity. Hello, are you with me?
Halilu, we can hear you, but there's a lot of background noise where you are.
Okay, I said that thank you for granting me the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I've listened to my governor, and he's someone I so much respect very well because of his stance on this insecurity issue. You will all agree with him that what he needs is support. The governor does not really have the support of some of his co-governors from the Northwest. While some of them are still negotiating with bandits, he said no negotiation with bandits. So I think we all need to provide a forum where we bring all these governors together and get them on the same page. Secondly, one other issue I want His Excellency, my governor, to look into is the issue of these vigilante services. Sometime last year, the governor conducted screening exercise for them, and they are awaiting results up to now. So I think this is the right time the governor puts those vigilante guys to work because they are really doing a lot. If you followed up the story on low-cost kidnap, which happened 2 weeks ago, was low-cost in Zara local government, the vigilante guys played a very important role in apprehending 2 of the suspects. So there will be need for the government. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Halilu. Clearly, you are from Kaduna State.
Yes, from Kaduna, Zaria.
I hope you are not a vigilante yourself.
Well, I coordinate the vigilante men in my area. I coordinate them in my area. And I'm a loyal supporter of my governor.
I can see so. I can see so.
Yes.
I can see so. It's good to have
no shaking.
No shaking. All right, very good. Toyibawe, please. Quickly, your question.
Thank you, Pastor Ituah. Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My question is this. My question is this for Your Excellency. I would like to know what your take is on the judicial autonomy and the autonomy for local government authorities. The truth is, listening to someone like the former emir of Kano.
Just give us a second. We want to mute everybody and then you'll unmute yourself because of the background. All right, Toib, please ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question. Can you unmute Toib? Toib, unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Okay, my question is on judicial autonomy and autonomy for the local government authorities. Because the truth is, when you look at most of the problems we have in Nigeria today, it is largely as a result of poverty. And like the former Emir of Kano said during the 100-year centenary of Union Bank a few years ago, there can be no peace without prosperity. Now, if we do not have our local governments who are closest to the people having some form of autonomy whereby the funds go directly to them, because I understand and I know that the governors sit down on most of them, of their funds. So you have local government chairmen that are more or less just errand boys doing absolutely nothing. They cannot even gather, like in my state, Kogi State, a few days ago, the Pensions Commissioners Board was killed. In his car was also the chairman of my local government, who was abducted for about 4 days. He cannot even gather the vigilantes together to say, let us have some form of security within the local government, because there is absolutely no funding. They are barely able to even receive salaries even in our schools. So we can't even teach our children, because the school that has maybe 300-400 students, we barely have 18 teachers. Now, same way the judiciary, they're on strike today because they are not getting their funding directly. Is your state willing to give them their funding directly so that we have a stronger judiciary? The last elections in Kogi State was mad with violence. But can we get justice? And it is one of the reasons why people like us, a lot of the professionals, stay away from politics, because you can't even get justice. If in an election they have killed people, these people have died, nobody goes to jail because even the judges are biased. And that is the main reason the state governors who can do whatever they want to do. That's my first question. Second question, how do you please pass the message across to me that CBN cannot continue doing all the interventions alone? We have a bank of a big that can support people and all the local government areas. We can get the funding to farmers. CBN cannot sit down in Abuja and want to do intervention for crates. They don't know farmers. The reason why inflation rate is going as high as it is today, for April figures, we're expecting it to be 90, is because
okay, so if we lost you, but I think we have the gist of what you are saying, and at the risk of time, let us just have His Excellency respond to those 5 or 6 questions, including mine. Excellency, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Ituah. I finally got back my... Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but let us just...
People put themselves on mute, please.
Mute. Let's mute.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Anthony, you know, said that Anthony said that what is happening, IPOB, all that is reaction to influx of northerners to the south. I don't agree. I don't know whether Anthony lives in Nigeria at all. Because, look, how many northerners live in the south? How many? We have criminals everywhere. These criminals that are going with AK-47 to the south are also killing us here in the north. So these are criminals. They are equal opportunity criminals, and we should unite as a people and fight them. Let's not start calling this one or that one. How many northerners live in the south? There are more southerners living in northern Nigeria than northerners. If you start talking like that, you are not addressing the issue and you're not solving the problem, and we will never get to the bottom of it. There are criminals. There are herdsmen and women that carry their cattle down south. Yes. How many are they? How many are criminals? Let's address the criminals. and look across the River Niger and Benue and see that in the north where we all live, we are being attacked and killed and kidnapped by the same people. So why can't we for once look at the problem squarely in the eyes and unite to solve it? Why are we talking all this northerner, southerner crap? I'm sorry. Maybe Anthony has not come to Kaduna. Come and see how many Igbos live here, how many people from southwest, from southeast. They are all here. There are more of them here than the Almajiris we have in Lagos. So let us stop all this and address problems fundamentally. We have a security problem. We have people that were herding cattle, that have sold cattle and bought AK-47s, and they are menacing everyone. Whether you're a northerner or southerner, they are a threat to our peaceful coexistence. They are a threat to our security. Why don't we unite and face them as criminals and allow the justice system to take its course? Why do we keep reverting to these base instincts of northerner, southerner, Igbo, Yoruba? When can we get out of this in spite of all our education and the fact that we're in the 21st century? I don't agree with your views, Anthony. And unlike you, I sit in a position of leadership of people from every part of Nigeria here in Kaduna State. And I know how many people are here from every part of Nigeria. And it is my duty to protect all of them. But when we start this northerner, southerner thing, or try to, ethnicize crime, then we are losing it. And please don't lose it. Come back to the issue. We have a security problem. We have insurgency. We have banditry. We have all this. Let's address them and don't give any excuse for IPOB or anyone like that. If we are all to react to people that are not of our ethnicity living around us, nobody will live in peace. I'm sorry, I don't agree with your position. I don't agree with your views. And people like you that are educated and privileged are part of the problem of Nigeria. Ephraim said the root cause, I should have started with the constitution. The root cause is the constitution, military constitution and all that. I don't agree with you, Ephraim. I think that the constitution is not perfect, but I think that if we have the right people with the right attitude, we can make this country work, even with this constitution and its defects. No human document is perfect, but we can make this work if we have the right people. The problem is that, as I said earlier, we don't have the right people with the right attitudes in politics and public service, and we expect a different result. We have left the political space to all kinds of people. We have left the public service space to third-class graduates, and then we expect magic. No. If all the people on this platform care enough to be in politics and public service, I swear to God, Nigeria will be a better country. Some of us have taken the risk, we have plunged, we are paying the price. That's why I'm here, listening to you and taking all kinds of questions, because I've offered myself to do that. I challenge you to all offer yourself in the same manner so that you are interrogated, so that we see what you can do rather than ask questions and criticize. Go and do something. Let's see what you can do in real life and push out the bad guys. When we have a critical mass of good people, that's when Nigeria will get better. Not when everybody becomes a commentator and critic and we leave the space of those that get things done to those that are not that capable. So I don't believe that Nigeria's problem is the constitution. I believe that the constitution is part of our problem, but the bigger problem is the people that operate that constitution. That's the biggest problem. The quality of the people that operate the constitution. And if we can all work together to replace them, to have better people, this country will be better, even with the constitution that we have. And the reason why I don't like spending a lot of time about about the constitution, people say, no, you know, we should have a sovereign national conference. We should dissolve the Senate. We should have only one house. That's not going to happen. I'm a practical person. I'm pragmatic. I don't waste my time on issues that will go nowhere. You want the Senate to dissolve itself, it won't happen. Let us try to reform the Senate that we have. Let us try to reform the politics that we have. There will never be a sovereign national conference in Nigeria because those that have power are not going to willingly hand it over to a mob. We have seen the countries that have sovereign national conference. Togo had. Is it better? Let's stop being romantic and look at the problems that we have and solve them. They say that when you get lemons, you make lemonade. We have a constitution. We have a system of governance. We have some people in power. Let us take that as a given and deal with it and make it better. Because they are not going to go away overnight just because we shout. They will only be replaced when many of us get into this system and improve it. But let's look at the Constitution. We have looked at it, and we know that since 1966, when the consensus of 1951 was thrown out, we've had to be dealing with a unitary constitution. That is part of the reason why the APC set up a committee on true federalism, which I chaired. And we made recommendations there that will devolve power from the center to the subnationals, which we think will make the country better. This is what our founding fathers agreed in 1951 when they went to the London Conference before independence. This is what was reflected in the Macpherson Constitution and the 1963 Constitution. But some people took over in 1966, imposed military rule, and since then we have become more or less a unitary republic, a federal republic. We can correct it. We can devolve more powers. We can make our constitution, we can rebalance powers in the constitution so that we can have a true federation. And if we have a true federation, I believe many of the things people are complaining about will go away over time. And we've spoken about that. I mean, the report of our committee is there. We've recommended state police. We've recommended vesting mineral rights, oil and gas, mineral rights in states. We have recommended abolition of NJC so that each state can appoint its own high court judges and so on and so forth. We have recommended that each state can design its own local government system to fit its circumstances, because one local government system cannot be the same for a diverse country like Nigeria. We have made many recommendations, and some of the recommendations are being implemented through legislation in the National Assembly. So I think we'll get there, but let us all come together, collaborate, and keep digging at these issues so that we make them better. The second question of Ephraim is about zoning and the presidency, and he's saying, why is the Southeast not being given a chance to go for the presidency? I don't think anyone stops the Southeast from going for the presidency. But you see, you cannot get the presidency of Nigeria by threats or by shouting victimhood. This is a political process, and you have to engage with other parts of Nigeria and convince them to support you to be president. That's what everyone does. That's what Jonathan did in 2011. That's what Buhari did in 2015 and 2019. That's what every president does. You don't stay in your corner, abuse everyone in Nigeria and say, give me presidency. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. No single bloc in Nigeria has the capacity to become the president of Nigeria without the support and collaboration of other blocs in Nigeria. So it's a political process. Get on the road, go and speak to every part of the country and persuade them that they are safe in your hands if you're president. That's the way to be president. Presidency is not by allocation, Ephraim. It is the result of a political process. You join a political party, your political party negotiates with other parts of the country, and it happens. That's how it is done. And you cannot get it just by sitting down or threatening secession. It won't work. I think the Southeast is going about this the wrong way. Because if you look at the APC, for instance, we do not have much footprint in the Southeast. So when we say as APC, and I support that very strongly, that the next president of Nigeria should come from the South, respecting the spirit of rotation. It's up to the South to bring us a candidate. Those of us in the North will wait, evaluate the candidate, and see the one that we can negotiate with and we can live with, and we support him. That's how it is done. We're not going to say that the presidency is zoned to Southeast or South-South or Southwest. No. The rotation is between North and South. So it goes South. It's up to the South, the APC of the South, to sit together and say, this is the candidate, these are the candidates. And we vote for them in the primaries. And whoever wins will get the ticket. That's how it is done. It is not done. You don't get it through threats. You don't get it through anything. You get it through negotiation and outreach. So if any zone of Nigeria wants to be president, they better start working hard to convince other parts of Nigeria that they are deserving of it. The third question from Ephraim is, I think the part-time National Assembly will reduce costs. It depends. I have said that it is not the salary of the National Assembly that is the cost center. The real cost center are the allowances. Now, if you can eliminate the allowances by making it part-time, why not? Let's explore it. But I want to remind you that for the National Assembly to be part-time, under the current constitutional framework, you have to convince the National Assembly itself to make itself part-time. The extent to which you can do that, I don't know how successful you will be. But sure, anything to reduce costs, I will support it. Bola spoke about Almajiris and asked us what efforts are we making as northern leaders to resolve this problem. I think Bola has not been following the news. But as far back as, I think, August 2020, the Northern State Governors Forum, in a unanimous resolution, took a decision to end the Almajiri phenomenon. What are Almajiris? Let me explain for those that don't know. Almajiris are children that are handed over by their parents to a Mallam, a scholar, to teach them to memorize the Quran. That's what it is simply. They give birth to these children. Instead of taking responsibility for their education, for their welfare, for looking after them, they outsource that problem to a Mallam. And this Mallam collects these children away from where they live, away from their parents, and goes round the country, settling in one place or another, using the children as child labor in farms, and getting them to go out and beg for money for him. It is an evil system. But past governments have refused to face this problem because of fear of political backlash. As you know, very few people are ready to confront the religious establishment, even when they are wrong. So the problem has grown from bad to worse over time. But under the leadership of Governor Lalong of Plateau State, the Northern State Governors Forum took a unanimous decision that will end the Almajiri phenomenon, and we began to arrest and dispatch Almajiris back to their states of origin so that they go back to their parents. They must be in the custody of their parents. They are free to attend schools to memorize the Quran, but they should do so under the care of their parents. Here in Kaduna State, we have passed pieces of legislation making it an offense to operate an Almajiri school, because every child in Kaduna State must go to school for 12 years, because primary and secondary education in Kaduna State is free for both boys and girls. So no one has any excuse for his child not being in school. And we have education marshals that go around and ensuring that any child seen roaming about during school hours is taken to his parents. The parents are arrested and the child is taken to school. So this is what we are doing in Kaduna, and this is what all the Northern State Governors Forum have resolved to do. In the last 1 year, we have arrested and dispatched over 30,000 Almajiri children in Kaduna State back to their state of origin. We have received more than 10,000 from other states in our state. We've taken them back to their parents, and their local government chairmen, along with UNICEF, have documented them, and they are going to be enrolled in school as soon as schools open. This is what we are doing in Kaduna State. This is what all the Northern State governors have committed to do. Of course, implementation will vary from state to state, depending on peculiarities and circumstances. But we are doing something, Mrs. Bola. We are doing something. By the grace of God, this phenomenon will be eradicated. It will be a thing of the past in the shortest possible time. Halilu talked about vigilantes. Yes, we have vetted about 9,000 people for the vigilance service. And we're in the process of getting them to be trained so that working with the police and other security agencies, they'll be part of our army that will attack these bandits. So we are working on it. We haven't forgotten. And we value the contribution of the vigilance service in our security architecture, and we are working on that. So you asked about judicial autonomy and local government autonomy, and he went on and on about how local governments are closer to the people, and you know, if they are given autonomy, they will work better. I don't disagree with him at all. I will start with local governments first. I believe that local governments should be autonomous. Their resources should be given to them. And we have done that in the last 6 years in Kaduna State. But guess what? The results are not impressive. Why? Again, it's a people problem. The quality of people that contest for chairmanship and councillorship of local government leaves much to be desired. The quality is poor. And it doesn't matter how much money you give to a person, unless he knows what to do with it, it will end up being wasted. This is what we have seen in Kaduna in many of the local governments. Some have done very well. Those that are lucky to have experienced people at the helm of affairs have done quite well. And I challenge everyone to check with our local governments. We don't withhold a penny of local government funds since 2015 when we came into office. We give them their money. When we decided to ask local government aspirants, those that want to be chairman of local government, to write essays, people were laughing at us, saying that we are making politics something else. But it is because we want to improve the quality of people in the local government system. We are going to have local government elections in June this year, and we are determined that the quality of people should be better because we give them their resources. In the last election, we used electronic voting machines, and we lost some local governments. We didn't win all local governments like other states. We used electronic voting machines. We are using electronic voting machines for the next election. But the issue of quality of people in local government is a matter that has to be addressed if the call for autonomy is going to result in any improvement in local governance. Right now, if you have a secondary school certificate, you can run for local government chairman. But the annual budget of a local government is bigger than the budget of most state ministries. Yet we do not insist on quality for local government chairmen. We are more interested in quality, in commissioners and permanent secretaries. But these local government chairmen have bigger budgets than most state ministries. This is why here in Kaduna, we decided that we are going to be more circumspect about the selection of local government chairmen. Now, what is judicial autonomy? The reason why we have a problem or a disagreement between the Nigerian Governors Forum and the judiciary on what is judicial autonomy is a simple matter of the difference between a budget and the actual money that comes in. When you prepare a budget, it is a plan, it's a financial plan based on certain assumptions. Now, the question that our representatives in the Nigerian Governors Forum asked the judiciary and the Federal Ministry of Finance is, okay, what is judicial autonomy? Let's say we have a budget for 100 million for a state, but only 50 million naira out of the 100 million is realized as revenue. Are we going to give the judiciary 50% of what was budgeted or 100% of what was budgeted? And they said 100%. We said, well, that can't work. It cannot work. A budget is only implemented 100% if the revenues are realized 100%. Revenues are forecasts. Depending on the price of crude oil, what you expect from Federation account can go up or down. Depending on economic activity, what you raise as internally generated revenue can go up and down. If we can agree that every arm of government gets the proportion of the budget depending on how much is realized, there is no argument. But they said no. The judiciary must get whatever is budgeted, whether you have realized it or not. That cannot work. They can remain on strike for as long as they want. Unless that issue is resolved, there is no solution, because you cannot give what you don't have. It is as simple as that. It is how we run our own state budgets. It is how what every ministry gets is what the legislature gets. It gets a percentage of what is realized. If the budget is, if the revenues forecasted are realized 100%, of course, everybody gets what's in the budget. But if the revenues are not realized 100%, how can one arm of government or another arm of government says it must get what is budgeted, whether you have the money or not? It's neither fair, nor just, nor reasonable. So that is the position of the governors on judicial autonomy, as well as legislative autonomy, by the way, because it's the same. Now, Ituah, you asked a question which I decided to take last. How do we get Nigerians to unite? Well, I think the answer lies with us, the elite, those of us that are privileged to have the education and the privilege, the wealth, the position, the power, and so on. It is up to us to unite Nigerians by our words, by our actions, by how we do things. If the elites of Nigeria have broad consensus around a few issues, Nigeria will unite. Because the reason why Nigerians find being disunited profitable is because anytime a person hides behind his ethnic group or his religion, he gets advantages that he's not entitled to. The fastest way to get something that you don't deserve is to hide behind federal character, or hide behind zoning or rotation. That is the easiest way to get what you cannot get competitively. We can begin by throwing out the federal character Commission and all the things about federal character have not united us, have not, brought those that are behind to catch up. Northern states have been educational disadvantaged for the last 50 years, all my life. Lowering JAMB scores, lowering common entrance examination scores so that Zamfara, somebody from Zamfara can get into university has not made Zamfara progress. Instead, it has made people from Zamfara lazier. So why don't we drop all that and get people to compete on a level playing field? That will be the beginning of uniting Nigeria. Why don't we agree, for instance, the entry into the federal public service can be by quota, each state bring X, but once you get in, promotion will be purely on merit, not to say that every state in Nigeria must have its own permanent secretary. We already have a system that says every state in Nigeria should have its own minister. Isn't that enough? Why do we have to insist that even permanent secretaries must be based on state of origin? Why can't we get the most competent people to be permanent secretaries? Why can't we get the most competent people to be directors? Once we start doing that, once people realize that they cannot hide behind their state of origin or their religion or their ethnic group or where they come from, they will work harder and compete. Let's begin from there. Let us also all comply with laws and regulations. Let rule of law be the guiding principle in how the country or the government engages with the citizen. Not because I know you or this. Let's do things by the rules. And we can begin to make progress. Let us also respect common citizenship. Because earlier, Anthony was telling me Northerners have moved to the South, this and that. We are one country. Everyone should be able to live anywhere he wants, providing he complies with the laws of that state. And if he doesn't comply with the law, let the law deal with him. It doesn't matter where he comes from. But there are people in Nigeria that still believe that some people are indigenous while some are settlers in their own area. There are parts of Nigeria where land is not sold to anyone who is not an indigent. Unless we begin to take that off the table, unless we recognize that every Nigerian citizen has every right to live, work, and prosper in any part of Nigeria, will not be united. I have spoken about meritocracy. Let us move away from allocations of positions, allocations of jobs. Let's move away from zoning. Let's move away from rotation. Let us promote merit as the guiding principle. And we will find that it is not an enemy of diversity. People think that if we promote merit, some part of the country will be left behind. No, no one will be left behind. If you want a professor from any local government in Nigeria, you can find him. You just need to touch him. No one is as backwards as people think. So for me, these are the steps that we need to take, Ituah, so that we unite our country. But the job is ours, those of us that are the political and economic elite. So far, we've been failing in it because all of us want to maximize the advantages that accrue to us. Whenever it suits us, we use ethnicity. When it suits us, we use religion. When it suits us, we use tone. That's how we do. Unless we begin to move away from that, those that are below us will not take the cue and live in a country where merit, competition, and a bit of luck determines everything.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. I'm being reminded that we need to round up at about 6 o'clock. It's about 5 minutes past 6 at this point in time. Can you stretch a little, or do we absolutely insist that we must close now? Because I have over.
No, we can be here till 6:30. I'll still be fine 6:30. Okay. I breakfast 6:40 something, so 6:30 is fine.
Okay, that's excellent.
We can do another 30 minutes.
Because okay, we will do that, and then I promise you that we will close. And I like your views. You echo a lot of what I think. It's very surprising that not very many people, especially in leadership and in power today, agree with these views. I don't know if you've been having a lot of pushback from your colleagues based on the things that you say. Maybe you'll answer this after. And also somehow, even recently and over the last years, you seem to have been vilified a lot of attacks. A lot of people think that you are a religiously prone person, that you're just almost a jihadist or a Fulanist or something like that. And the attacks have been very, very strong, even getting you on this platform. I've never received the kind of attacks I've received in a long time. One of the things they said is that, these Fulani people have come again. They look for a pastor to try and help them launder their image, blah, 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 blah. And it can't be further from the truth, because this whole thing was divinely organized. You and I didn't even talk. It was actually Aswe's idea. But you know, Nigerians, they always come up with all these theories and things. But it goes to show the amount of, I don't know, the sort of image you have probably thrown out there. And I would like to ask of your thinking about this and what you're actually trying to do to a large extent correct some of this image. Even last week, you were supposed to appear on a program. I heard that the outrage was so vehement that somehow they had to not go on with that, with your appearance at that program. The other question from me is a bit personal, and it has to do with a mutual friend of ours, a brother of ours, Lamido Sanusi. Somehow he was dethroned as Emir of Kano by your compatriot governor across the road, almost from you. And you seem to have reached out with an olive branch. First of all, you visited him. You actually led him away from his incarceration at that time. The irony was that I met him in Lagos when he arrived. You saw him off to the airport in Abuja. I met him in Lagos. And again, people were saying to me, Ituah, you've gone to pray for a jihadist and all that. But that's a different story. So I like to know why you, because I hear that even that, what you may call, that thing had some kind of acceptance from Asorok or from the powers that be for him to be dethroned. Those are my two comments or questions, which you can allude to later on. But let me take questions also from Olufemi, Stephen, Yusuf Palm, Bimbo Ashiru, and Olufemi, Yusuf Palm, Stephen, Bimbo Ashiru, and Betty in that sequence. Betty, maybe I should even start with Betty so that I'm gender sensitive. Betty, if you take your question, after that, Olufemi will go. After that, Stephen, then we'll look at Yusuf and Bimbo Ashiru in that sequence. Betty, unmute yourself and ask your question. Please make it very quick. We don't have too much time. We have about 22 minutes left on this program. And I really would like to end at 6:30 so that my brother can break his fast.
Okay, I guess, hello everyone.
Please don't repeat any of the previous questions, please.
Yes, most of what I was going to ask him has been asked already, and he has, I think, from his comments. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Betty.
Betty, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Mallam Nasir, good evening. This is Betty Wanchuku. I want to say most of what he said, as inspiring as they are, and truly inspiring, that is the way I knew for a very long time. And it's also true that some of those images Nigerians say about him, some may be true and some may not be true. Some of the questions I'm going to ask him has already been addressed. One I still want to is that, does he have access to the presidency? And what is the president doing about the state of insecurity in the country? And then he made a comment that the next election or something, next leadership will come from the South, zoning is between North and South. So that precludes him from contesting in 2023. I had a question for him that if he was going to contest in 2023 and he becomes the presidency, how is he going to do something different? Honestly, because I also want to say that he contributed to the current incompetent government that we have now because he marketed them. And a lot of people believe in him. Apart from that, I want to commend him for the excellence he's been handling, the way he's been handling in Kaduna State. It's just unfortunate some of the things that are happening security-wise in Kaduna State right now. I have a friend 3 years ago, a pastor actually 3 years ago, that personally told me that Nasir is very, very open and supportive of religions, because I was a bit concerned about some of the comments I heard. And he told me, and this person didn't know me from Adam. When he told me, I took it because Nasir he didn't know me from Adam when he assisted me in the past. So that I can vouch for him. But he has a lot of influence, and it grieves me that Nigeria is going the way it is going now because the president is not doing anything about it. Then the second comment I want to make is that he made a generalization about a certain region of the country, a sizable portion of the region of the country. If a few people are hiding themselves and threatening the rest of the country, you cannot cover the whole region as thinking the same way they are thinking. Honestly, even though I like the idea of politics and getting there is a process, yes, and all that, but that has not been the coloration in the past. It has always been between that. If now that you say it's North and South should bring up somebody, okay, South should be fine. It wasn't like that before. Because I like the idea of let the most competent person be the president. I don't care where the person comes from. But is the person competent? So if Nasir El-Rufai wants to contest for 2023, I'll vote for him.
Betty, please,
but he also will have to tell people.
Betty, it's okay.
Yeah, because I know he's
Betty,
competent and he pick on competent people, but he also have to he also have to sell it to a lot of Nigerians because some people don't have good image of him. It's those of us that know him that may have good image of him. I will tell him the truth if I see him face to face because he knows me. But it's a long time.
Okay, Betty, thank you very much. We need to take another question. And in the midst, I've even lost the trend of what you were trying to say. But I think basically what you're saying is that he's ruling himself out of contesting. We're going through to the South, and what is he going to do about his image, and so on and so forth. I do hope that Nasir took a few notes because you went on and on. But anyway, nonetheless, there were some germane points there, and he will respond to that. Stephen, Olufemi, please, very quickly. Please go straight to the point. We don't want too much conversation at this point. Just ask your question straight, please. Olufemi, unmute yourself.
13 minutes into a game.
We can't hear you.
Without getting a second yellow card, I mean, that has to really be appreciated. These two players were very vital for Chelsea. Yes, right?
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Olufemi, adjust your equipment and I may come back to you. Can I have Stephen, please? Stephen?
Only that there was a general.
Stephen, please unmute yourself.
Can you mute everybody, please, and just leave one person?
Hello?
Your question, please. Okay, Stephen, very quickly. Stephen.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Unmute yourself. Ask your question. Go straight to the question, please. Otherwise, I'm going to cut you off if you don't do that.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. My name is Stephen. Your Excellency, in the past couple of years, you have been inspiring leaders, young, particularly the young generation of people, through a training called the Kashim Ibrahim Fellows. And that institute itself has made Kaduna State like a United States of Nigeria, because the membership of that institution, or that institute rather, is drawn from every state of this country. Now, this is a laudable effort that you have done. Your leadership character is indisputable. You have committed to training these people. But my question is,
what is the question? Yes.
You are creating that environment in Kaduna State for these young people to be involved in public service. What will you be able to do on the general national level such that these people are accepted nationally to be able to impact the society with the values and virtues that you have been training them through resource persons drawn from all around the world? Is there any, do you feel constrained in a way, to be able to get the impact of this new generation or young generation to serve Nigeria? Or do you think there's a possibility that you can expand this to be a national, to have a national outlook, maybe to be embraced at a national level? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you. Bimbo Ashiru, please. Please straight to the question.
Yes, thank you, Pastor Ituah. Mallam, Your Excellency, my own question is not even a question, it's actually a contribution, and actually I want you to probably say one or two things. Yes, your approach to this thing about the security issue is very good. I mean, I don't support the idea of negotiation, giving money, because it became a lucrative business for them. And my worry is that you have said it, that they shouldn't negotiate. Yes, I agree, because some people will be, I mean, it's going to be a sacrifice and some people will lose their life. But having said that, you said something last week and the Minister of Defense said something else. That's your own personal opinion, which I personally don't even support, because he said he was a lawyer for 37 years. And my point is that you seem to be the only one talking about this thing, how they should approach it. I think the other governors, they've been keeping quiet. Maybe they are behaving like cowards or not. But what I'm suggesting is that there is need for all the governors of the country to come around together and say, we are fighting this. I mean, your own approach to it, that let us go to the bush, let's kill all of them there. Yeah, some people will die. That's my own approach to it too, because it's becoming a lucrative business. And once people are getting away with those things, then they will continue to do it. They are buying AK-47 because they get money. But if we can go in there, and they are all cowards, let me be honest with you, once they don't have any gun, when they arrest them, they start talking like parrots. So the point is that we need to have a firefighting approach to this thing. All the governors should come, the governors forum should come up, they should sit down together and agree that this is the way we are going to do it in the south, in the east, in the north, so that we can sort this thing out once and for all. It's becoming ridiculous. And I believe, I mean, Mallam, I know you very well. I call you Submarine. You can call your other governors, you have the influence. Let us sit together and see how we can fight this thing at once. Because the country is becoming, I mean, so scary now. And that's my own just little contribution to that.
Thank you very much, Otumba. I think that's a very strong contribution. And I think that if the governors could come together and decide forcefully with the support of the federal government on one approach to this thing, maybe we can make some traction in that. So thank you for that. Can I please ask Yusuf Palm to ask his question? Again, Yusuf, please go straight to the question so that we can save time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mallam Nasir, for making yourself available for this interrogation. Please encourage your other fellow governors to make themselves available, and particularly my governor in Plateau. Maybe if you were to relieve him of the chairmanship of the Northern Governors Forum, we'll have more access to him here, but that's for another day. I just want to make 3 quick interventions. One, you are sandwiched on the Northwest by your neighbors who are having serious security challenges like Zamfara and Katsina. That's more towards banditry and insurgency, if you like. on the North Central states, you have the peculiar security challenge of the Fulani herdsmen, farmers conflict, which is how it began before it escalated. I want to ask you if it wouldn't be more helpful to have some kind of joint security forum between the governors of those neighboring states, for you, like you're sandwiched in between on the Northwest and in the North Central, to have a focused approach, security approach, and a common security approach to these problems, be it of insurgency or banditry on the one hand, and then the Fulani herdsmen conflicts on the other. And perhaps in so doing, you might be able to close some of the gaps that might be existing, for example, between your humble self and the governor of Benue State, just for an example. A closer collaboration might bring a greater understanding. So I wonder if that would be a useful suggestion. Second question would be, wouldn't it be helpful also to narrow the arena of conflict, as it were? If we have three major sources of security challenges, say the insurgency, the banditry, and the Fulani herdsmen issue, it seems to me that the Fulani question might even be the lowest hanging fruit. Because for those who do not know the origins, there is not enough time to go through the history of it. But perhaps since they have a structured leadership, and you have alluded to meeting with the structured leadership in the past, even though there were issues, perhaps if there is a deliberate engagement by such a joint security forum with the leadership of the Fulanis and the locals who are suffering some of these conflicts, a deliberate engagement that would de-escalate the conflict, such as to reduce or to narrow down the arena and to face the other conflicts that are more complicated in nature. And finally, sir, if you do not mind.
Yusuf, I think we need to take somebody else. I think I can take this.
I just wanted to suggest that when he meets the president, the fourth thing you should ask him is whether, since it's a non-international conflict and these are organized armed groups, perhaps they should declare war on them so that the law, the constitutional law would apply and all the gloves will be off. So thank you very much, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, thank you, Yusuf. And thank you for last week also. Thank you very much. God bless you. I think I'll take one more question, maybe from a lady, so that he can respond to this. And we might be closing at that point. We really do not have enough time to take all the questions. So let Eitemi take her question very quickly, straight to the point. I'll get the governor to respond, and then we may show one more video, and then we will close. Eitemi, please.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. I just wanted to refer to something the governor said earlier about the security issue and about asking about suggesting more money is spent. Unimaginable sums of money are already being spent. I mean, I read somewhere recently that maybe about 24 trillion unaccounted for in the past 5 years. I don't know if I'm exactly right. Now, the question I want to ask is that, does the governor have
frozen
apart from more money to be spent on this security issue?
Okay, that's fine. Excellency, my brother, can you please respond to those questions as quickly as you can so that we can do some rounding up and then we can let you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, my brother. Betty mostly made comments, and it's good to see you, Betty. Long time, many years.
That's all I did.
But she asked me to. She asked what the president is doing. Since I have access to the presidency, or do I have access to the presidency? Yes, I have. What is the president doing about security? The last time I met the president on this was last Thursday, and I asked him the same question, because the governors of the 8 frontline states, Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, Plateau, Nasarawa, met with the president on security. And we gave him our own regional strategy to end this. And he agreed with what we proposed. He said he was going to meet with the service chiefs the following day. They met on Friday, they adjourned, they continued on Tuesday. And we are going to see him, I believe, tomorrow to know about the implementation of that plan. I don't want to go into the details of the plan, but we have a regional plan. This responds to the question by Yusuf Pam as well. We do have a regional plan and strategy, and we are working on it. But I want you to understand that as state governors, we are a bit handicapped in that we have no direct control of security forces. So we rely on the federal government for most of the coercive power, though we will be contributing our own vigilantes too as part of that. But there is a plan, and I believe that very soon the plan will be put into action to end this thing. Betty B says I should be blamed for marketing the government that got elected. Yes, I take full responsibility for that. We did market our party, we marketed our candidates, and frankly, we did so with the best of intentions. We are confident that Nigeria will see the progress that it deserves. Now, I will be the first to admit that we have not done as well as we all expected, but yes, we did that. But has there been progress in some areas? Yes, I believe there has been a lot of progress in many areas. There are challenges, and we will continue to try to deal with those challenges. I agree with Betty. I completely agree that, Nigeria should, look for the most competent person, whether he's from the Mars or the moon or from another planet. If he's qualified to run for the presidency of Nigeria, we should look for the most competent person. But that's the ideal situation. Where we are as a country is that we are still addicted to this sharing mentality of power. So until the Nigerian elite realize that having your man in the villa adds little or nothing to you, the country or as a people will never be cured of that. So I believe that we'll get to that point that Nigerians will say, look, I don't care where the president comes from. Let him just be able to do a good job. We'll get there. I'm not sure we're there yet, but by the grace of God, we'll get there. Stephen talked about Kashim Ibrahim Fellows and how to replicate this nationally. Well, the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship Program, collects 16 young people that work for 1 year in the Kaduna state government, and they go through seminars, training, and so on, engagements with leaders to prepare them for future leadership. We take young people from the ages of 25 to 35, and we hope that they will form a network, a national network of young people committed to one Nigeria, committed to Nigeria's progress without partisan, ethnic, or religious barriers, So, and they are already growing. They are growing in numbers, and they are working in key positions in the public service across the country. Unfortunately, there is very little we can do to make it a national program. I wish that it is possible to have a fellowship program at the national level. The United States has a similar program. They call it White House Fellows. They take young people to intern for 1 year at the White House. I wish something like that would be introduced at the federal level. But the good news is Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship is being replicated by some state governments. For instance, Lagos state government has said that they will start a Latif Jakonde Fellowship in honor of the late governor of Lagos State, that will be similar in structure to the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship. Now, if we can get more state governments, Ekiti State is also looking at something like that. Many state governors that we've invited to speak to the fellows have gone back with the idea that this is worth doing, bringing young people from all over Nigeria to spend 1 year in the state government to get exposure to public service at very high levels. It's probably what will attract them to remain in public service. The reason why we started KIF is because we feel that the major problem of Nigeria is not the constitution, it's the quality of public service and politics. And we thought Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship will bridge that gap by getting young people from the private sector, from academia, and getting them exposed to public service and taking them through training and classes and engagements with leaders to show the importance of public service. And many of the people that have gone through the program have decided to move from private sector to the public sector. So we consider it a very successful program, and I'm happy that other state governments are replicating it. And I hope that I will be able to convince the federal government to also do something. If not this federal government, the next federal government, by the grace of God, because trust me, whoever is going to be the next president of Nigeria will be someone I know very well and will have access to. That's how it works. It's a small club of political elites, and I'm sure, I don't know who it is, but I'm sure I will know him and I'll have access to him, even though I will not be in the government. Thank you, Bimbo, for your comments and words of encouragement. I think it would be very useful if all the governors come together and speak with one voice. Unfortunately, that is not likely to happen because some first-time governors think it is politically risky to take that kind of position because they want a second term. Some second-term governors are plotting to be president or vice president. So they think it's not politically correct to speak like that. I mean, you come out and say, kill all of them, you think that you lose the Mieti Allah constituency. So it is very difficult to get politicians to, stop their self-interest and the political calculations and do what is right. So it may be difficult for us to get governors, but I'm happy to say that the 8 governors that I mentioned, the 8 state governments have now all agreed that negotiation with bandits is a no-no. Amnesty for bandits is no. We just have to do what we have to do, which is to use kinetic forces to just wipe them out. The governors of Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Plateau, Nasarawa, and Niger are all agreed on this. They may not come out and say it, but we are agreed, and we are working on a plan. There was a question that I did not hear the whole question, but it started by saying some 24 trillion has been spent in the last 5 years. That's not correct. There isn't that kind of money in Nigeria. The annual budget of Nigeria is 5-6 trillion. So even if you spend 3/4 of that on defense, in the last 6 years, it's just about 24 trillion. There is no money like that on defense. So it's not correct. The number cannot be right. I don't know how much has been spent in the last 5 years, but I'm sure a lot has been spent at the federal and state level. But what our armed forces need is superior equipment, superior weapons, more ordnance and technology. And we may have to spend a bit more money to give them that so that they will do the job that we want them to do. I will now go and end with Ituah's questions about my image and all that. Ituah, I have been a victim of this misrepresentation for a long time, since 2007, when I was Minister of FCT, because since then people had been thinking that I am a potential presidential candidate. So there is a need to destroy me, to destroy my reputation. I am not a presidential aspirant. So they are wasting their time, they are wasting their capital to make me look like what I'm not. And frankly, I don't care to change it. I know what I am. I'm quite comfortable in my skin. I know who I am. I know what I am. And those that matter, those around me, those that know me, those that have worked with me, those that have engaged with me, know me for what I am. I am not out to convince every Nigerian to know who I am. I frankly don't give a damn. I am quite comfortable with what I am, and I am confident I will stand before God and defend every decision and action I've taken in government. I have sworn by the Quran to be fair to all manners of people, to uphold the Constitution and the law, and that's what I try to do. And those that work with me, those that have engaged with me privately or publicly, no. Now, those that have never met me and have drawn conclusions about me are free to do so. So that's okay. Any opportunity I have like this to be what I am, who I am, and communicate my views very clearly and bluntly, I will do so. But I frankly do not spend much time trying to convince people otherwise. The case of the former Emir of Kano, my brother SLS, is one of friendship. We've been friends since 1977, and we have been very good friends. We are almost brothers. He has been there for me through my trials, and I have to be there for him through his trials. So that's how I am. I don't forget my friends. I do not abandon them just because they are in danger. I join them to be in danger with them. That's how I was brought up. And as to allusions that Aso Rock had support for his dethronement, I will not say that. Yes, maybe the federal government could have intervened and told Ganduje, don't do it. But it is not the nature of President Buhari to interfere with how a governor runs a state. It is not in his nature. So he will not do that. He may have his own personal views on any issue, but he's not likely to pick the phone and say, Ganduje, don't do this. That's how he is. He's my boss. I know him very well. And those that are waiting for the day that I will criticize Buhari are going to wait for eternity, because I have access to him. I can say anything to him in private. I'm not about to say what I discussed with him in private publicly. So that's it. I think I have tried to answer all the questions, and it's way past 6:30, and some people are already tired. Instead of logging out, they are saying time is up. I thank my brother Ituah for the opportunity to speak to all these distinguished people, and I hope we have benefited from this interaction. Thank you very much. Good evening and have a nice day.
Thank you, my brother. You've done very well. I appreciate you. You and I, we're going to go and see the president together at one stage. I must insist on that. I want to have a word with him. Good evening. I'd like you to take there since you have access to him. And also, by God's grace, we will work together to find good leadership for Nigeria. I am very, very passionate about it, and I'm determined that as best as I can, we will find the right kind of leadership for this country and see how to really move Nigeria forward. I have other questions, but I'll let you go, and I'll leave them until maybe when we see privately things like NSAS and that and that. And then you did say that you are not going to be in the next government. I'm sure that I don't know what role there might be, but it might be useful. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we see privately. But thank you very much for coming. God bless you. God help you. God strengthen you. Greet my sisters and my children for me. And I will keep in touch and try and come and see you soon. Or if you do come to Lagos, it'd be nice to hang out. I want to thank everybody who has been on this program today. I want to appreciate you all. I think we've had a chance to really ask as many questions as we want from Mallam Nasir El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State, and one of our political leaders in Nigeria. Love him or hate him, you will find him quite engaging in listening, at least to his opinion. He says he doesn't give a damn about what people think about him. Well, that's okay, but some of us care, and we do hope that somehow or the other we'll be able to get things sorted out. Thank you very much, Nasir. I really am grateful to you. And we'd like to get as many other governors or leaders on this program as possible. So if you do have access to other governors or leaders that we can talk to, Governor Autumn, for instance, or Governor Wike, or any of the other governors, please get them. Let's hear their opinion. Let's see how we can make Nigeria great again and see how we can fix the political process. The other question I was going to ask really is, people say PDP, APC, two sides of the same coin. Neither of them can produce good leadership going forward. Should there be a third force? Again, maybe we'll leave that to another day so I don't bog you down today. But once again, thank you for coming. God bless you. Except if you want to see any other thing, I think we can close the evening tonight. Any other closing comments, my brother?
Well, look, thank you very much. When I said I'm not going to be in the next government, I mean it. I am tired, I'm exhausted, and I'll be 63 by 2023. I think it's time to take a break. I've been doing this government business more or less since 1998. I think it's time to take a pause. Besides, I have other things I want to do the rest of my life. But talking about APC and PDP not being different, I think that's a fundamental error that we can talk about some other day, but we're very different. APC and PDP are very, very different. And as for a third force, this is again one of the presumptions of political outsiders that think that there can be a third force. There will never be a third force. The only third force is all of you here going into these two parties and changing them. No other party can come near APC or PDP. This is the reality. Take it from me. The political culture, the political process is such that it is not going to change easily. I know how long it took us to effect the merger that led to the emergence of APC. It took us 2.5 years. Many people don't know how long that took. It took us 2.5 years, and we had to merge 2 years to an election for us to win. So all these shelf parties that are only on Twitter are not going to go anywhere. The best bet is for the Nigerian elite to go into these two parties and fundamentally change them. And if you want to form a new party, yeah, by all means you can, but you should have a long-term view, because you need at least 3 years to have a credible party, and you'll not feature in the next election. You have to plan 2 elections ahead. That's the only way to do this. I know this because I've been in this system. Those that have not been in the system think it's simple to do this. It is not simple. It is not easy. It is quite complicated. And my advice in the short term, go into APC, go into PDP, change them for the better. Let's have the critical mass to change the parties, because the parties are the platforms that throw up the leaders. If the parties are not doing very well, if they do not have the best people in them, they will not throw up the best people as leaders. This is as simple as that. It's very difficult to accept that reality, but that is the reality. Thank you.
Okay, my brother. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir.
God bless you. I'll call you later. We're not taking any more questions. We're closing for today. We have to allow His Excellency to go and break his fast. And he's done incredibly well. This is about the longest session we've had on this platform. And it's been almost virtually open books and everything. So thank you, Excellency, my brother Nasir. Go and have a jolly good evening, and then we will catch up later. Everyone
and the largest crowd, Ituah, for the first time, almost 300 people.
No, well, last week we had almost 400, to be honest.
Yeah, that was last week and this week. So that means Mallam actually pulled a lot of crowd.
It is. It is.
He brought campaign managers. He can go now.
Ituah, Pastor
Yes.
Ituah, ask
Yes,
the governor, what's the difference between PDP and APC? Are they not the same two for Toro? What is the difference between the two political parties?
They are not, but we will need another session to debate that.
Very good.
Mallam, I
Thank
thought
you,
you had
Governor.
left.
No, he's still there. He's
There's no internal democracy in APC. There is internal democracy in PDP. That's the
Let's
difference.
allow the maybe we could still have a few minutes to talk while the governor goes to make his pass.
What are the differences in APC and PDP?
I just asked.
No, explaining.
All
right, thank you for bringing Nasiru. Bless you, good for bringing Nasiru, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor Ituah, for bringing Nasiru.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, everyone.
Well done.
Thank you for coming. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Governor.
My question when I call you one-on-one, Nasiru.
Thank you very much for the initiative.
Thank you, Mallam Nasir. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Off the mic. Off